Welcome back to the LCS Summer Playoffs, where Misfits Gaming and G2 Esports are facing off in our last quarterfinal. A confident first win coming in from Misfits, there can be no doubt, and now we get to see how G2 Esports recover as we head into Game 2.
Oh, it was such an exciting Game 1. Very clean game from Misfits, and that's the kind of performance we wanted to see from Misfits, when there was so much doubt around this team, when on paper they looked like the much weaker team. They end up picking a plan that worked beautifully, and G2 seemed to have no answers.
And coming into the series, I said, if Misfits are going to win, we have to see the first half of the split Misfits, not the second half. This was a return to what worked for them in the past, with a strong bottom lane and roamers out of the mid for Sencux.
And that's very true, gentlemen, but I think there's one additional factor that we didn't consider, and that is Alphari absolutely destroying in the laning phase. So now my question is this something G2 have to play around? Because last I checked, Cho'Gath isn't just supposed to murder people all the time forever. So is this, do you have to worry about Alphari now in the pick ban?
I don't think you have to worry about him in the pick ban. In game, yes. And I think the biggest difference was that Jankos ganked top lane, got a flash, nothing else happened from it. So I think it is in-game where they have to focus him out.
Now, of course, we see the bans Kalista taken off. They don't want to see it again. Olaf banned away from G2 Esports. Heimer and Akali, the remaining Misfits bans, alongside the Rakan and the Trundle. But Ryze first pick, now picked up by PerkZ.
Now, I'm expecting an early priority on something like the Galio. I think the matchup can be pretty good, and it gives Sencux another champion where he can wave clear well, and he can look to play around side lanes. And if Misfits go for an early tank, you have clean setup for what looks like a pretty solid team fighting composition later on as well.
Also, Varus has been left open by G2 Esports. It could be very easy right now for Misfits to lock that in, but they decide against it. The Ezreal we saw yesterday was not that impactful, but it does give Misfits a very strong mid game they can use.
And gentlemen, I love Braum. Ezreal always scares me. European Ezreal players come in two varieties. The I do what I'm supposed to do early game and struggle to carry, or they show up and they pop off, and that's nerve-wracking, especially when you go up against Varus, which is just all around an incredible pick.
Now, to me, it feels like G2's getting a lot of comfort right now. They actually have a winning bot lane 2 versus 2 with both the Varus and Morgana. A lot of priority in terms of push, but also Misfits right now are drafting towards playing in the direction of Alphari. Alphari had a good game 1, but he was on a tank, and the game primarily came from the fact that they had the winning 2 versus 2. When they try to play through top, that's when we've seen a very weak Misfits ender.
Yeah, and it's especially strange because, well, their bottom lane...
Wait a minute.
Wait, we've seen this. That's a tank. They can play through top. They don't have to play through top if he just wins it by himself.
Wait, no. I'm sorry. If there's an Ezreal in the bottom lane and there's a Cho'Gath in the top lane, I don't think we're seeing a Galio in the mid lane, boys.
I don't think we're seeing that. Like, this surprises me because often if you're drafting Ezreal or Braum, it's a safe 2 versus 2. It's something that you play more defensively, something that allows maybe the support to roam around the map. Maybe you just don't want to invest loads of resources there, and that's fine. But it often means that you have a carry towards the top side. Having a Cho'Gath is not your innate carry, and while you can obviously send a couple of ganks up there, it's not your primary win condition.
Or hope that Wunder picks GP again and that he's just going to kill him.
I mean, maybe, but I can't imagine they would go for a blind pick GP. But we also see it from G2. The Aurelia ban implies that they do not want Sencux on a big carry.
Exactly, and I'm wondering, is this a return for Sencux onto Yasuo? That was his strongest champion back at the start of the split. After he lost one game on it, halfway through, didn't play that again.
80% win rate. That one loss haunting him still. Caps plays Wukong in the mid lane. He doesn't get to play League of Legends. But PerkZ may already be going for the Ryze here. See exactly what they want to opt for as the final ban will come out. Gnar taken off the board. Nocturne taken away as well, limiting the carry picks for Misfits, saying, hey, Sencux is the guy who has to carry now based on the way you draft.
Now, if we want to go into some mage options, LeBlanc and Syndra both do very well up against the Ryze, have ability to lock him down, use range advantage to beat him out in the 1v1. The Cassio as well, old school counter pick into that Ryze, and they have to put Sencux, I feel like, on something that can do really well, give him a lot of pressure out of the mid.
Well, they're just going to stick with a pretty safe jungler in the Trundle for the time being. Skarner could be an option for G2 if they wanted it. Thinking about other potential options, Gragas often struggles against things that can get into your face and go for early fights. But G2 are just saying, you know what? We don't need anything early game. We just want a bit of engage and a bit of fighting.
Right now, G2 have so much single target lockdown potential with all of their members. They're looking to single out individual members of Misfits, and there's no no saving anyone on their side. It is so easy if G2 ever pull the trigger to lock down and get a kill.
And what's the final pick going to be? Sion now walked in alongside the Sejuani for G2 Esports. A pretty well-rounded team composition overall, but Misfits, how do they respond? What is Sencux going to get his hands on?
Well, we saw the G2 hover of the Aurelion Sol. It could be. I've never really been a massive fan of Aurelion Sol into Ryze, but going for an old classic.
You can't write it better than this. This is, if you want a quintessential Sencux champion, it is the Malzahar. When Splice were struggling back in the day when he played on that lineup, it was always the Malzahar that they turned back to when they needed Sencux to support the team. And gonna have to see if he can do it today, but he's doing it against a black shield.
But he's got that lockdown, and they're trying to play through this middle lane. We're going to see Maxlore around mid when he hits level 6 to try and shut down PerkZ. Last game, they shut down PerkZ by drafting defensively for Sencux, making sure he didn't die and that he could leave the lane to get the other lanes for Misfits very far ahead.
And now they want to murder him, and it's all about trying to kill PerkZ and deny him from being that superstar for G2 Esports. Remember, this is a 5-time finalist organization. A brand new roster came into the org earlier in this year, yet they still made it into that final against Fnatic. They want to uphold that legacy, but in order to do that, they have to get through what looks like a revitalized Misfits after a dominating game 1.
And we have to wonder, how is it going to work out this time around? We've already seen what it looks like when bottom lane can win out in the early game. What does it look like when Sencux is the focus? Or is this the game where PerkZ is unleashed and he can let out those carry performances we know he has the potential of?
And this time it's G2 with the mobility to get around the map in the mid lane to send PerkZ to a side lane, knock down towers. It is a severe role reversal from that game 1. It really does feel like here for G2, we're trying to re-script going into the next game.
All right, well, as the teams load onto the Rift, let's head over to Quickshot and Misfits coach.
Thank you very much. I'm joined here by Hussein. First of all, congratulations on game 1. Let's focus in on that Malzahar last pick. Quite a few of us by surprise. What do you have to do to make that work?
We just have to be good at making picks, and I think if we do that, then we should have the game as well.
All right, are you at all concerned about the matchup into the Ryze, Morgana?
No, I think we've practiced it and we can execute.
Fantastic, best of luck. Heads back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. Executing on those picks with the Malzahar. Now that is what the Moose pointed out himself. But gentlemen, what do you have your eyes on when it comes to winning this game?
It's, for Misfits, you have to play through this middle lane. Again, Sencux has the tools to find picks. But you're not going to find picks if you fall behind. You want to have him with the advantage, similar to last game, where they dominate vision control to single out members of G2 whenever they walk into a face check situation.
Now, I could see a world where Misfits send 4 members down towards the bot side of the map and they try to go for a couple of picks. We did see it coming out from Schalke yesterday, where their whole game plan was to try and snowball the Ezreal Braum lane, and it didn't quite work out. And I feel like if you can get an Ezreal ahead, because he has such a strong mid-game spike, it's something that you could look to utilize, but it's not something that we often see where comps are revolved around trying to snowball an Ezreal.
Yeah, and you know, Sencux does have teleport, so there are options for him to either go down bot lane of his own accord or follow PerkZ if he's trying to make a Realm Warp play down there as well. So it does feel like to me that whichever mid laner has priority is the one with the ability to impact the rest of the map.
And in the early laning stages, we expect Ryze to have that push. Malzahar doesn't really have that much clear until he gets a couple points in his E. But for G2, they actually have a pretty solid 1-3-1. The great thing about Ryze is once you get into the late game, he's extremely strong, being able to shut down even many tanks off into a side lane. And they can split them out quite nicely, and with a Morgana Varus, that's so much wave clear in the mid that there are very few options for Misfits to try and punish them. So G2 have a really good comp for just dividing up the map, and they have a couple of options for forcing fights if they're able to find a bit of an early lead, which they can then look to snowball.
And for now, PerkZ taking absolute control of the mid lane. You mentioned a few more points of the Malefic Visions before Sencux can really fight back. And no Grasp of the Undying this time. Not quite as safe of a laning phase as he had on the TF. But doing his best to farm up. PerkZ, though, does mean he gets a little bit of priority. Lays down a little bit more vision to set up his team for early success.
I am a little surprised not to see Sencux go for the Predator himself. It's something we've actually seen on the Malzahar a little bit frequently when he does get picked, just to be able to close the gap and make the play happen. It is a little bit more focused on how he performs individually in this lane, give him a bit more damage with that airy tick whenever he does do damage over on towards PerkZ. And will help set up for a kill once he does eventually reach level 6.
And now as we watch G2 try to find their footing here as we enter game 2, it's a calm early game. We can take a look back at the season for G2 because while they did have a similar decline to Misfits, it wasn't as intense and they managed to find their way back towards the end of the season. It's important to remember, but that kind of got cut away in our previous game. Now as they need to refocus, as they need to find themselves after a pretty tough loss, we have to remember how much playoff experience this roster actually has.
Yeah, of course, these guys been a part of so many different playoff appearances. Jankos showing up 8 times. That's just absolutely incredible, and it just goes to show how veteran these players are and how much the experience they have, not just in quarterfinals, but semifinals and finals matches as well.
Yeah, but then you kind of look at Jankos, and I believe last split was his first ever finals appearance, and many of these players outside of PerkZ were always the players that looked good. They had a couple of good playoffs performances, but they could never quite reach the top dogs. And last split, they had that opportunity to do so, and they got destroyed by Fnatic. It was a very solid 3-0. They found a couple of early game leads that they failed to translate into big wins, and unfortunately, it was one of the most disappointing finals that PerkZ has ever been a part of. And so far in this quarterfinal, coming into it, they were written as the favorites. They fell apart in game 1. They've come up with a new strat in game 2. They've drafted a little bit more of a 1-3-1. And eyes will be on Jankos to try and find some of these early leads, getting Ryze ahead or allowing him to move around the map and get a couple of either side lane kills or opportunities to take an early tower will be really important for G2 to leverage this 1-3-1 comp.
And of course, Jankos taking a lot of criticism in recent weeks. He's shown such beautiful performances. He had a fantastic early game against Schalke in their tiebreakers, but then just as many games where you're wondering, what is he thinking? What is he doing? And while game 1 really wasn't on him, the game fell apart before he could do much of anything, there is still very high expectations on him as an individual to step up alongside PerkZ and be a carry for this line.
Especially on the Sejuani, gonna be looking for those big ultimates, making plays, and starting off these engagements for the team. But you can already see that there's a lot of shoving lanes for G2 at the start of this game, and that's pretty much classic G2 style because they look to win out specifically in those solo lanes, get early advantages, and close out the match. But that does, you know, make me a little bit concerned because if you have all shoving lanes, that is really going to put strain on Jankos for where he needs to be on the map. And actually, the teleport had to get canceled there from Hjärnan.
Oh, yeah, he was going to show up in the bot lane by himself. Wadid wasn't there. That's a bit of an oopsie.
Definitely a bit of an oopsie, but I think it's important to note already things are looking a little bit better for G2 in that top lane for Wunder, he's already building up a little bit of an advantage. He's much less vulnerable, and that's pretty crucial when you look back at how good Alphari was on this Cho'Gath.
Yeah, Alphari dominated that matchup up against Wunder without really any assistance from Maxlore. He even lost his flash at around that level 3 mark to a gank from Jankos. Still did not matter. Right now, though, Misfits are setting up for diving the bot.
Vedius, you talked about this. Misfits potentially playing around the bottom side. We're going top, we're going bottom, we're not sure.
All over the place, man.
Figuring it out. Where is the action going to be? Well, doesn't look like it's going to happen on the bottom side here as we jump forward.
Now, they did see a solo Hjärnan, and after burning his teleport and not having the assistance of Wadid, Misfits saw an opportunity to try and get themselves a kill. Unfortunately for them, Jankos was hanging around, PerkZ had just gone back to base and was at risk at joining the fight, and Sencux could not roam down to help because he had to deal with a big minion wave. So I like the fact that Misfits chose to disengage. I think there was a big risk of G2 finding a turnaround in that situation.
Now, I want to direct our attention to this build from Hansama, because that's a pickaxe and a dagger. Those are the components to go into a Stormrazor. Now, Ezreal builds usually spike around the 1 to 2 item mark with the Trinity Force and the Mirror Mana, but he is already sort of departing from that without the early mana sustain. He's looking for much more damage, aiming into crit on this Ezreal.
Infinity Edge first.
Oh yeah, that would be terrible.
Just for the record,
So
don't
bad.
buy Infinity Edge as the first item. It's been changed so that it's literally never the right choice.
And to be fair, it is still possible for him to pivot and turn that pickaxe into the Mirror Mana. The dagger could go.
You'd be surprised, right, to
Yeah.
not get a tier on the first back because you want it to start stacking up. Maybe he's just decided to go for a different approach, which is very much that, hey, I want a little bit more trading power. I don't like the fact that he's going to come back with some AD and I won't. We'll see where it develops, but so far in the laning phase, Hansama has been falling behind. That's kind of what we talked about in draft. The pushing power of Hjärnan and Wadid is very strong, and they kind of had to respect it in these early levels.
And coming through as predicted, but Vedius, you bring up how Hansama's falling behind. It's not just Hansama. That's almost a 1K gold lead. 700 at this point was 1,000 just moments ago as teams are catching the waves. But look at the differences between top, between mid. 72 to 47 in the mid lane. PerkZ with a 500 individual gold advantage over Sencux already.
That's more than a kill in terms of farm lead over his mid lane counterpart. PerkZ really showing what he can do when he has so many all-winning lanes. Now he's roaming towards bot.
Morp comes through. They're zoning him off the bottom lane tower. They just want to get some damage down. Oh, hi. Surprise Sion in the bottom lane. That would explain why they backed up so quickly.
But this is a complete change here for G2 actually investing resources into their bottom lane. We talked about the mid lane CS advantage, but bottom lane, Hjärnan, big lead over Han Sama. They're the ones looking to take down the first turret themselves.
Good use there. The binding, Wadid forcing out the flash in the end from Han Sama. Happy to have the small advantages here. Crucial if they want to go for another dive. Alphari is shown up on the bottom side of the map. Not sure what the next play is for either of these lineups at this stage, but G2 going to keep the pressure up here in bottom lane.
And I love that G2 are looking to just play through their strong side of the map.
That's the Predator.
You can see Maxlore.
Cleanses come out. Maxlore going to get the play. Knocks him back into the team. Beautiful combo, but Hjärnan has the flash. He holds on. He says, not today. Knockup goes through onto Wunder. Now can they turn it? Hjärnan is so incredibly low.
G2.
Jankos is on the way, looking for that ultimate, wants to connect it. Another beautiful binding from Wadid. Jankos turning his attention. They know they can get Mikyx. First blood drops, the ulti connects, but no follow-up. Just the one kill from G2.
And notice it's PerkZ and Jankos the first to rotate into the bottom lane to punish Mikyx and the rest of Misfits going for the engagement. Again, they want this turret. It is set so low for them at the moment. They're putting in everything for it.
Good use of the silence, good use of the CC to stop Wunder from getting anything else. The Black Shield a little bit late. Now the teams are backing off. Mickey wants to turn this fight. They're going to find the immediate kill. Morgana taken out. Misfits firing back, but just trading blow for blow in this bloody fight on the bottom side.
So it ends up being a 1-for-1 overall. Misfits able to find that counter as PerkZ continues to push in the mid lane. Sencux has not found an opportunity to roam yet. No ulti available for Jankos, so likely they won't be able to get themselves a kill. But it is G2 that are being proactive in this early game, trying to play through that strong side of the map and secure themselves some early advantages.
And we heard from the Moose. It's about Sencux setting up picks with the team. Sencux cannot leave his lane right now, gentlemen. PerkZ doesn't have to go anywhere else because he's just keeping that Malzahar under tower, stopping this champion from being effective.
I mean, it's a complete reverse from game one, where this time it's G2's bottom lane winning out, pushing, trying to get a tower, then rotating top lane proactively. Hjärnan invested the teleport to try and get this tower, and the rest of Misfits, as you can see, aren't responding by defending top, and they can't rotate bot lane fast enough to try and trade those structures.
G2 looking good so far within the first 10 minutes of the game. This is why in the draft we talked about it. What is the direction that Misfits is going towards? They drafted a very early Ezreal Braum. They said, okay, we're going for a defensive bot lane, and then they drafted a tank up top. And that has given G2 the opportunity to have priority everywhere. Now this is kind of where the turnaround came out from the side of Misfits, because you can see oh no, this is actually the start of the fight, because right now you can see in the minimap that Ryze had actually pushed in Sencux. He then starts roaming down with Jankos, and now they have a numbers advantage. A binding lands onto Mickey, and that's kind of when the first kill ends up coming down.
And it was a great engage initially from Maxlore, but then the flash comes through from Hjärnan. The rest of G2, though, just sit around this bottom lane tower. And this is where the TP comes in, because now Braum has respawned, and they can make it back for a trade kill onto Wadid.
And also note how Sencux was just completely zoned away. That's in part why Misfits were able to find this turnaround, because Jankos even went up to help PerkZ force Sencux out from the fight, which means that they ended up in a numbers disadvantage the moment Mickey TP'd in with the rest of his team. So Misfits able to find the turnaround, but Drakos then out of 1.7k gold deficit.
They're going to get the Ocean Dragon, but they've also already given up the Rift Herald. You saw it in the picture-in-picture as we went through that replay. And also, let's take a look at the mid lane. Ender, Malzahar, a lot less scary when you do not have to care about that ulti.
Yeah, PerkZ just put in a lot of money for that Quicksilver Sash to try and avoid ever dying in that lane.
Here comes the Realm Warp, though. Alphari's going to know it's telegraphed. He's not going to burn into summoner spells. He's just going to walk away for now. Backing off slow and steady. Good escape from Alphari. Now Sencux is there to back him up as well. Now PerkZ is going to be the one who has to be careful as he approaches mid lane. Going to go up for the Scryer's Bloom, just to get a bit of vision to make sure that he can walk back to mid. But he's on his own side of the map, so it's pretty easy at this stage.
Now, I will say, we need to check in on the Ezreal build again, because he went back to standard. It wasn't crazy. The pickaxe didn't go into something obscene. It is the Mirror Mana, so will be that man sustain, the Ezreal we are typically used to seeing. And now our eyes are set on the Trinity Force. See when that one comes through, and they can really try to make use of this pick.
Also know that Sencux is level 10 now. Jankos hanging around the bottom.
Whoa! He's thrown out. They're trying to burst him down before anything else can happen, and they take him out. Mikyx doesn't even get the chance to block the damage. Maxlore wants to fire back. They get one! Does manage to take him down with the barrel, but Sencux is here. They're looking for the pick. He's not going to go for anything else. The TP comes in, and the fight is diffused, but a good start for Misfits there in the exchange.
So AD carries traded from both sides. G2 and Misfits fighting back and forth in this game 2. Kills going across the board, but both AD carries going down in that fight. Ezreal showing how squishy he is in the early game.
Yeah, Maxlore too with the big barrels to kill Hjärnan from over the wall. Good stuff out of him as he sets up to surround PerkZ.
Hangs around the mid lane. Ulti's going to be used. The QSS is there, but here comes the Gragas. He's going to slow him down. He's going to take his time. The body slam, and goodbye to PerkZ. Alphari going to take the kill.
If there's no tower, it makes it very easy for Alphari to just leave that lane because he's got nothing to lose. Misfits group up as a 3-man unit in the mid lane. They find their first kill onto PerkZ. Now they have their eyes set on the tier 1 tower.
And now they're bringing 5 members in, even a teleport from Hansama to knock this down. There's no wave clear left from the side of G2, and Misfits get a much needed structure.
2K gold lead starts to get minimized here as Misfits pick up a little bit more gold under their belt. Splitting it amongst the team members, and now things not looking quite as dire as they did earlier on in the game. Misfits starting to come together. Maxlore especially starting to step up in these plays.
And this just gets me more excited, boys. The fact that G2 definitely coming to play in game 2, not giving Misfits that much control over the entirety of the map. And this is where we saw that bit of early action. Maxlore handing off in the flank, trying to be ready for the turnaround, but it was Jankos who shows up first. Now, that was a fantastic combo coming out from Maxlore, even almost getting a double kill, but then Sencux shows up and is forced to get zoned away as the teleport from Ryze was there to say, no, we're more than happy to take this fight.
Misfits, of course, actually, wait, once we finish out this replay, but the picture-in-picture also important here as we see the Rift Herald charge in on the top side of the map. Can they secure another tower here? This is a huge shift of power if G2 can make this happen without losing any members.
Look at where Hansama and Mikyx are. They went a lot off into the side lane last game, but now they're getting punished for it this time around. Now 2 members of G2 in mid.
Hansama locked up. Chain CC comes through. He's now stunned up, but the Predator comes out. They know that's their cue to leave on the side of G2. Towers taken down left and right, and G2 not willing to give up that lead that they built early on.
G2 have completely turned their game plan around. It is so fantastic to see them using the Herald down on the bottom side to break a tier 2 tower, get some chunk down on the middle lane as well. And this gold lead for them is starting to balloon a bit, up to around 3,000 at the moment for them. And you can really see it's in the place that matters, and that's Hjärnan over Hansama. That's a big gap.
And every time we see Hansama struggle in the early game, Misfits have a tendency to not do as well as compared to when he has an early advantage. The fact that Hjärnan was able to get this stronger 2 versus 2 bot lane, the fact that he was able to pick up a couple of kills, the fact that he's been involved in a lot of the early game playmaking from G2 is great for G2. Because while in game 1, Misfits shut down the win condition of PerkZ, G2 have done a good job of shutting down the win condition of Hansama.
I mean, and you can just see right here the difference this player has in wins compared to losses. He destroys games. When his team has a lead, they win through him down there. But when he fails, it does not look good for the team. And Misfits paid for that in the second half of the split.
An important note, GD at 15, that is his gold. TGD is his team gold difference. So massive part of the deficit when Misfits are losing is usually Hansama, and that appears to remain the case here, as you saw the individual difference between him and Hjärnan on the bottom side.
So far, eyes will be on Hansama to see what his impact will be in this game. But we also talked a lot in the early game, and we heard from Coach Moose himself about Sencux as well. On the Malzahar, what picks can he find? Will Misfits be able to catch members of G2 out of position and then turn this gold lead back into their favor? Because right now, G2 are keeping the pressure game up, and they have their eyes set on another tower.
And one weakness of this comp, not a lot of wave clear. So G2, every time they bring members into this mid lane, Misfits are going to have to respond with a whole bunch themselves, try and keep this turret alive, because once it goes down, G2 get control of the map and can look for picks everywhere.
But now look what G2's doing. They're splitting up the map. They move PerkZ already off onto a side lane. We said that this is one of the big win conditions for G2 and enabling PerkZ to just be strong in the 1 versus 1. They also have Wunder, who they can move off to the other side to just act as wave clear duty, but G2 now looking to play multiple lanes at a time, and they're trying to get a bit of revenge onto Alphari, who split pushed his way into a win in game 1.
And despite everything looking okay for them at the start of the game on the side of G2, Alphari is still doing very well. It's so hard to shut this man down. Wunder as well, though, matching up, not giving up as much in lane, and now he's pretty comfortably able to deny this tower push from the side of Misfits, using that Sion, using the lack of CC from the Misfits bottom lane to ensure that he can just clear the waves.
Yeah, he can clear the waves, but you can see how much, Misfits are investing around Hansama at the moment. They know that he needs to be the big carry for them. Tons of deep vision trying to protect them as they do push up on this top side of the map. Maxlore never leaves the side of his duo lane, and it means that while they are kept safe, if G2 just run it straight down that mid lane, they're going to pick up the turret.
Difficult now for Misfits. A very different story from game one. We got to see Misfits playing with a lead. We saw it for the entire first half of the split. Now we can see how they play from a deficit, see what they can show us, how their preparation has helped them for this moment. For now, G2 definitely control, but Misfits are doing what they can to match. Alphari's going to push in on the bottom side, and if no one contests him, he may be able to take down this turret, but he's not going to take any risks here. He will just back off, allowing the minions to die there.
And it calls back to the division around the map. Misfits put everything on the top half, nothing down bottom side. So while Alphari did so well in the last game, has 2 kills under his belt this time around as well, he can't really push up that much further unless the rest of the team is willing to come down here too.
They have their eyes set on PerkZ. Alphari wants to get a kill.
Ladies and gentlemen, cue the Jaws theme song. Dun,
Oh, he's dead.
dun, dun,
We say this a
dun, dun,
lot.
dun, 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 dun. Flash silence, that might be all it takes. Sencux now on the way. PerkZ just going to go right on down. Well played from Alphari.
He flashed in for that. He was going to guarantee the kill. PerkZ, unfortunately, in a situation where he wasn't even that far overextended. He just wasn't expecting Alphari to be in that brush behind him. Maxlore ends up coming down, and the rest of G2 can't punish anywhere else on the map.
To be fair, he just expected him to be in the other brush, which is why that blue dragon showed up there. It's a 50-50 chance, man. Not going to get it right every time. So for G2, giving up a little bit there. Gold lead not quite as big as it once was. Getting closer, staying around that 2K mark. And now Maxlore is going to grab a Cloud Drake, so a small prize to add on top of the ocean they got earlier.
Yeah, it's the timing of when they decide to go into a side lane and look for play. It's right before that objective spawns. So another thing going to be going the way of Misfits. Of course, what we don't see in this replay is that Alphari sat in that brush for about 15 seconds while PerkZ tries to get the port on out of there. Alphari knows any form of immobilization or silence will stop that port going through, and he gets the kill.
And you might think, why did he bother flashing for it? Well, the reason was that PerkZ still had his flash up, so he would have been able to walk away from the Wild Warp, then flash back in just like Chachi did, and he didn't want to run that risk. So just burn your flash, secure the kill, and walk away as a happy dinosaur monster thingy.
Oh, he's happy, man.
Eloquent as ever, Vedius. Well, the dinosaur monster thingy definitely feeling good. 2-0-1, but sadly, Misfits have lost control of the mid lane, and that does mean that G2 are going to grab this tower. Extend that gold lead once again. Baron, so we get the 20-minute mark, is now on the table for both lineups. It is a bit early, but the Varus, of course, with the on-hit build, can shred through it if he's given the time.
Now, I will say that this, again, reminds me a lot of Game 1, because if we looked at that match, Misfits, they actually did less damage individually than every other member on G2 in their respective matchups. And again, it's just flipped, where G2 aren't getting the kills, they're not putting a lot of DPS down themselves, but they're playing the map so well with this global mid laner from PerkZ, able to move around, TP around, and get these turrets, which is the factor in getting these teams the big advantage.
And that's the power of pressure. And when you have those winning lanes, and especially around the mid game where you do feel stronger, you get to walk up to the mid lane first, you get to, any lane first, you get to clear it out first, and because you have a pushing wave, that gives you first dibs on getting the vision down, which means that right now, if we show some of this vision, a lot of it around the Baron is lit up for the side of G2, and Misfits are kind of forced to put these defensive over-the-wall wards because they can't get that priority. They can't move into the river and gain that control.
And you just see how G2 move around the map. It is a constant wave effect where they push out the mid lane, then look to collapse onto a side. A lot of times it just results in putting down wards, clearing out vision from the side of Misfits, but it's those moments where Misfits overstep their boundaries that G2 will pull the trigger, and they have all the tools to do that. Each member of G2 has a CC that they can just go right in with.
And to be fair,
there you go. Started off, the cleanse comes out, double TPs, triple TPs now being burned. Both teams ready to keep this fight going. Mikyx going to try to get multiple members knocked up. Alphari in the middle of everybody. Wadid is so low. Cho'Gath wants to devour his prey, but he's not going to get the chance. Sencux is going to set up the picks. Hjärnan now running for his life as he gets zoned out by Mikyx. Sion unstoppable as he pulls back. No one is going to die in this exchange.
Ooh, huge fight being set up in the top side of the map. So many summoner spells burst, but as you said, Drakos, no one dies. Now, Misfits, they're starting off the Baron. They do have the Cho'Gath.
We wanted to see confident from Misfits in their calls around Baron. That is a lot of confidence, but maybe too much. They're going to look to take down Wunder instead. Eyes on the prize here as Hansama throws damage across the wall, going for the knockup, wants to lock them up as Zombie Sion's going to come out. But I don't think it's going to be enough here. PerkZ also stepping forward is a big risk. Misfits, are they going to go right back for that Baron?
Yeah, they saw all those recalls coming in one after another. First it was Jankos, that's why they started the Baron, baited in the rest of G2. Then it was Hjärnan that went back. Now PerkZ, he has teleport to try and re-enter as we see another fight.
Beautiful acting here. Is it going to be Oscar winning? Wadid might be in trouble now as they try to chase him down. The Ezreal range is just too much. He manages to take him out. Another pick for Misfits.
Misfits finding kill after kill. Hjärnan does have the teleport, but there are only 3 members of G2 alive. Note how PerkZ is pushing in the mid lane so he can come in from behind, and these are a lot of low health Misfits members.
They have the Cho'Gath once again. There's no Kalista, but still the Feast can't secure it. Alphari has it up and available. Can they take it down? Jankos looking for a contest. Hansama goes in. He wants to take down Hjärnan, but Hjärnan has the lethal temple proc. Wants to throw back a bit of damage. Hjärnan blocking what he can, or rather Mikyx blocking what he can. But there goes the ulti from Sencux. The picks that we heard about before the game even began.
Now they've got Jankos down, there's no smite on G2, but the rest of their members have respawned. Still, Misfits are going to be so happy with the outcome of that play. The gold is almost dead even once again. They've used this point of power where they set up the perfect team fight around the top side of the map, got all the summoners out of G2, then turned it right back around.
But the problem is Misfits didn't convert it into any objective. Getting those kills is all well and good. Getting more gold onto your carries is great, but they're still at a deficit. G2 is 4 towers up over their counterpart in Misfits, and with a 1k gold lead, they're still feeling good, and they're looking to fight around this Baron again.
And that's what we're gonna see. Now it's about converting it. They've got the items, no flashes on the side of G2. We're going to see a fight, and Misfits will be able to turn it straight right around onto the carries of G2.
G2 knows this is happening. They're hesitating to enter the pit. They're trying to group together. Not sure exactly where all the opposition is. They see everyone in the pit now. They need to take this down. 5k and dropping. Then there's Cho'Gath should be a guaranteed secure, but can they interrupt it? Can they do something? Jankos wants to get in the pit. It's getting lower. Will he take it away? No! Cho'Gath denies it. Already one member getting taken down, though. G2 need to clean up the Misfits line. If they want to come out on top, and a beautiful ult, a beautiful knock. The follow-up is there from G2. Hansama gets one back. At the end of the day, they get 3 kills on the side of G2, traded for the Baron.
Misfits secure the big objective. They have to sacrifice 2 members, but they're going to be happy with that. The gold is now even, gentlemen, here in game 2 between G2 and Misfits. Let's look at how the setup came to be. Misfits started this one off. They know they have the Cho'Gath, so the secure is that much more likely. And Mikyx does what he can to just buy time for his team.
Yeah, they're just zoning, waiting for that Baron to go down. And at this point, they're not looking to get any kills. They're trying to escape, but it's still Hansama with the big ulti there to snipe back and trade 1 for 2 with the Baron on top.
And gentlemen, the thing we have to remember is the gold, yes, right now is just about dead on even, but look at the tower difference. All of those towers just waiting to be picked up now by a Baron-empowered Misfits. G2 in such control of the early game. Everything now has shifted at a few incredible mid-game plays from the side of Misfits.
It certainly has. Misfits, things did not look good for them in the early game. They were losing a lot of lanes, they were being forced behind, they lost so much control over the map, and it was primarily G2 that was dictating the pace. But that top lane play where we saw all those teleports, where Misfits were the ones that could finally be in a position to try and force something.
Now trying to shut it down, though. The cleanse comes out. We're going to pause here. Maxlore trying to get a fight started. Wants to try to take someone. They managed to try to pick off Hjärnan, but there is Wunder to body block. He is just going to be able to walk away. They have the black shield as well. A tower, meanwhile, being destroyed by PerkZ as he pushes in on the top side. Misfits going incredibly aggressive here in the mid lane to try to force down these objectives.
Yeah, they're fully committing, and with Baron buff, they know they push faster than PerkZ. PerkZ recalls. He doesn't want to try and trade on the top side of the map because he needs to be back here in the base to defend.
What ultis were used on the side of G2? Jankos, Wunder, and Hjärnan are all down, which means a lot of engage tools are unavailable, but Misfits, they still have Alphari's ulti. The pick from Sencux is still big and available, and they are splitting through mid and bot as they siege into the base of G2.
In just 20 to 30 seconds until these G2 flashes are back up. Maybe that's where we see the playmaking moment to stop Misfits from pushing for anything more. Mikyx going to block the poke coming out from Hjärnan. Black shield now used. Misfits take this as an opportunity to step forward. First inhibitor going to drop. Misfits starting to pave the way to a 2-0 start. G2, what can they do?
Not much when there's another wave coming coming down into this bottom lane. Minions all over the map. The turret is going down. They're going to have to pull the trigger.
G2, your 5-time finalists, are at risk of falling 2-0 down in this best-of-5 series against Misfits. They are grouped up as a 4-man unit, pushing onto the second inhibitor of G2's base, and things are starting to look dire for G2 Esports.
Madrid on the line for both of these lineups. Who is going to get it? Who is going to be sent to the gauntlet to pray for a chance of qualification? Well, Wunder's going to try to find his way in, but he's silenced. The engage has been mitigated. Hansam and Mikyx are both incredibly low. The damage is now starting to come out, but Hjärnan remains untouched. He is going to be able to take down one member. The shutdown comes through. The ulti does not quite manage to do what they needed to do, but PerkZ is running forward. They want a little bit more. The flash, no hesitation. He's back in the middle of the lineup. What else can they get? They're popping off. The black shield's coming down. Zombie Sion not going to get anything else. Mikyx next on the chopping block. Will they take him down? Hjärnan's still playing safe. Knows that he has to be careful. So many low health bars, so much burst less available, but Hansam with the flash forward from Hjärnan. One more kill, taking him down the realm warp. Gonna bring him back. Maxlore wants to interrupt, but it's too little, too late. The shutdown from G2 as they fire back.
G2 with their lives on the line, the chance to go down 0-2. Go for everything. Go for broke around that bottom lane inhibitor. It's Hjärnan in the backline, staying alive, dishing out the damage to turn around 4 kills and win that fight.
Now we got to take a look back at this play brought to you by Acer Predator.
So things start off with Hansam being very low on HP. He takes a little too much harass, and G2 feel that's enough to actually start off a fight. Look at how much damage Wunder soaks up on the front line, while PerkZ keeps Maxlore out of the thick of things. He doesn't die before Alphari does, which means that it's very easy for G2 to go for the re-engage.
And then it's PerkZ that flashes forward to get the root down onto Sencux. Once the Malzahar is gone, all you have to do is knock down Hansam, and Hans stays close. He thinks he has the ability to outplay with the jumps and the mystic shots, but Hjärnan flashing forward just right-clicks him straight 6 feet under.
Maxlore so desperate to get it back, and gentlemen, Hjärnan and PerkZ running through that team fight. Their tank line playing beautiful, but look at that Varus damage.
Think back to the tiebreaker game where G2, while losing both of those matches versus Schalke and Vitality, demonstrated some fantastic late-game team fighting. A lot of it was off the back of Hjärnan. Think back to the days where Hjärnan was playing for Roccat. It was his Sivir that was turning games around and coming in clutch. G2, with the pressure mounting, with the risk of not making it to their first ever final since their joining of the EU LCS, turn it on and come up huge.
It's almost unimaginable to see either team fall out in the quarterfinals, but one of them will move on today. One of them will be stopped in their tracks. Right now, it is still Misfits with control over the map. With Baron coming up in a minute and a half, we're gearing up for the one team fight to rule them all.
The engage, they want to get everything out. Alphari trying to do what he can to mitigate the AD carry on the backside. Hjärnan remains untouched, trying to do as much damage as humanly possible. Wunder with a beautiful knockup does manage to make it out, but he's ticking down. Are they going to burn through the Sion? The Ezreal does not connect. Both sides back off. The binding is there, but not enough.
But while no one dies, check what was used. Flash is gone from Jankos. Flash is gone from Wunder. The big front line of G2 is currently unavailable, but the Baron spawns in a minute's time, which means this fight will not be converted into anything from the side of Misfits.
And you talk about summoner spells. Look what's up for Sencux. He has his flash. None of the carries of G2 have it. If he can get onto Hjärnan without a black shield, protect the AD carry from G2, it could be lights out for G2.
Mikyx stepping forward confidently, but there's the realm warp. They're bringing the tank line in the middle of everybody. Are they going to get cut down? Hjärnan now stepping forward. They're doing what they can to mitigate him. A beautiful knockup from Alphari. Buys a bit of time before Hjärnan can start free hitting onto the line. Looking for a little bit more. The binding connects onto Maxlore. Now Wunder going forward, wants to get in on this team, but both sides are just going to have to back off, testing the limits here. But mid lane, the wave is coming in.
The wave is crashing in. Bottom lane 2 building up with just 30 seconds left on the Baron. Misfits don't have to leave because they still have an Ocean Drake. They're sustaining while their minions are taking down Nexus towers.
G2 forced back into defensive mode. Teleport coming in from Mikyx. Misfits are saying we're going to kick off this Baron. It's going to be ours, and we're going to take ourselves to 2-0 in this series. They were considered the underdogs, but right now they're the ones controlling the top side of the map. They're the ones in control of the Baron, and they're the ones forcing G2 into a very difficult situation.
Another teleport comes in from Sencux. They were thinking about maybe baiting, waiting for G2 to enter. That seems to be the call. While 2 members started, the rest of Misfits are here to pick Jankos.
Hansam looking to break it up. The Black Shield stops any action right in its track. Sencux now solo starting this up. They know Alphari just needs to be there to secure it. They're buying a bit of time. Building the Voidling's tank. They're not going to commit quite yet. G2 now moving in. They're ready for the full-on 5v5. This is your arena. This is your battle. Will they go for it? Sion ulti comes in. Is not going to connect onto anybody. The knock up there. They're trying to disengage. Are they going to commit to the Baron? Does not look like it. Hjärnan now firing free into the back line. has to back off as Hansama throws the ulti across. Only going to connect onto PerkZ. The Baron still leashed, still ticking down. 6K and getting lower. Voidlings there, maybe counting against Misfits because it's just going to keep leashing it. We'll start to heal up here shortly.
Misfits are too scared about that big wave that's building up in the mid lane. The inhibitor respawned for G2, which means those super minions are no longer crashing into the base. G2 have that priority and will turn it into a tower.
Yeah, G2 have gained complete control over the map now. Not just the mid lane, but the vision around the Baron too. They're the team that's set up to win a team fight with the Varus, with the Ryze, with how much power they have in their backline. And now it's them who will hold all the cards going into this next objective.
And remember, the later this game goes, the better that Hjärnan will do against these tanks compared to the Ezreal. He has built this on-hit scaling AD carry Varus build, which given time, given that ramp-up opportunity, will just melt through these tanks. Misfits, they cannot afford to let this game go any longer, so they're going to force the Baron once again.
TP's now coming in. Everyone is ready to commit to this fight. Flashes up for multiple members on the side of G2. The carries can get in or get out as they need to. In goes the Sion ulti, doing what they can to mitigate the engage here. Black Shield has now been used. Hansama remains fearless on the front lines. He dishes out damage left and right, but neither side committing to anything more. The Baron going to re-leash. Misfits do not feel confident in taking this 5v5.
But here's the issue for Misfits is, once again, G2 are the ones with mid lane control. They're shoving out that wave, forcing a reaction here from Misfits.
But the key thing is that G2 have no teleports left. Alphari still has his up and available, so now it is G2 that have to force something because they know Misfits can start to split apart the map.
They're both just teasing each other, playing with this Baron, trying to use it to bait the fights, but it's PerkZ in the mid lane looking to break down the towers. Alphari is there to stop him from getting anything else. G2 ready at a moment's notice. They put Misfits in the same position they were in last game, where they have to choose their fights. They have to pick the engage or risk losing everything.
And the wave control from G2 is really what is keeping them in this game. They're in the lead still. Remember, this is a team that crushed the early game. Hjärnan and Wadid absolutely dominated in the bottom lane, but it was a huge fight around the top lane that led into the Baron and gave Misfits that huge resurgence in the late 20 minutes.
I love how competitive our playoffs has been already. So close between just the quarterfinal teams. Misfits not expected to be the favorites, and so far they've been in a commanding position, but G2, they're not giving up either.
Absolutely not. You saw the gold graph, how back and forth it's been. G2, yes, gave up that lead when Misfits managed to fight back, but they're taking it back to their hands. They're letting the scaling reign supreme here. Stronger and stronger against the Varus. The Ezreal, of course, with the double tier items, incredibly strong as well, but the sustained damage, absolutely unmatched if Hjärnan is allowed to hit that tank line.
Keep your eyes on the teleports, gents, because you can see it is available for Alphari coming up soon for Hansama.
Yeah, that means G2 have to make their way into the river right here. Right now it's Misfits with control, but G2 have more members in this river. They're gonna get the vision down and force a reaction out of Misfits, but actually with Alphari going back to base, it alleviates a lot of the pressure that was on them, but they're going in.
Realm Warp now coming in. They want to find their way to the back line. Maxlore going to do what he can to disrupt Hansama. Throwing out a few Mystic shots here and there. They try to find the engage on Hjärnan. Hjärnan in trouble, but they managed to stop Alphari from getting any further. Good disengage comes in from the Varus, but Wunder may have been caught off on the side. Alphari now running forward, but Jankos is going to stop it. Hjärnan will not get touched today, they say, but Alphari says, that's not how we're going to play it. Looking to take him down. Maxlore now on a killing spree. PerkZ running from his life from Hansama. Zombie Wunder doing what he can, but Sencux just looking for the outplay onto Jankos. Wadid running, locking up members left and right, but Misfits may have just won this fight. Already taking down Wunder. Are they going to settle for anything else? PerkZ caught in enemy territory. Jankos is going to make it out.
Behind enemy lines.
Hjärnan, the one that you have to watch here in the end.
Run, Hjärnan, run! You gotta get out of this situation
Can
somehow.
he make it? Focusing on the tower. I don't think there's any way he can do it out. It would be a miracle if he manages to get it, but Mikyx is here to block the damage. Shut down onto the AD carry. Massive advantage to Misfits.
Hjärnan was trying to buy as much time as he could, but the death timers are still so long. Now Jankos is alive, and that is key, but the rest of Misfits are setting up around this Baron. They're started up. Alphari will have this feast up in just a few more seconds as Misfits look to take their second Baron of the game.
How terrifying that must have been for Hjärnan as Alphari flashed onto his face, teeth and claws bared towards the carry of G2 and said, I will not let you live, I will not let you walk away, I will secure Baron for our team. Misfits take control.
And in this fight, it's all Alphari. He's the last one to enter with a teleport right into the center as G2 go for the engagement. But just look at how hard he zones Hjärnan from this fight. At first, Hjärnan has to flash away because he gets hit by the Glacial Fissure, and after that, he's stuck over this wall. Alphari walks straight at him, flashes over this wall eventually to make sure that Hjärnan can't auto-attack. He just has to run as fast as he can. And without the Varus, G2 just can't win a fight.
And I just love the team fighting from Misfits. The decision-making and positioning of every member is so crucial. Note how Sencux is just keeping the tanks and utility outside of the fight. Hansama utilizing his front line perfectly so that he does not risk getting shut down. Maxlore saving the Gragas ultimate to the last moment to guarantee a kill. So many members coming up clutch as they now have the Baron and are sieging towards the Nexus.
Now, we've been in this situation before. Misfits with Baron on the inhibitors. Last time, they went a little bit too far forward. G2 turned around, had a massive team fight victory off the positioning of Hjärnan. They need him to step up again as Misfits enter into the base.
And G2 find the fight to turn this game in their favor. Mikyx leaps forward. They're going to try to find the knock-up onto him. They're limiting the support would be crucial, but they try to find the engage back. Jankos is in the middle of the team, but he's just too tanky to be left up. Wadid, Alphari already burning the ultimate. PerkZ caught up onto the side. They're trying to do something, but he's got him! Misfits! This is just too easy now. PerkZ is gone. Hjärnan's gone. Game 2 looking to be gone as well. Misfits wants a few more style points.
Look at this guy!
Hansama does not care. He says, upset, I saw you do it yesterday. Let me do you one better. Leaps into the back line, and now they're going to close out Game 2 in style.
Misfits! Oh my god, it's insane. We're in sync. They're in sync. They take down the Nexus once more. Hansama layering out the damage. Alphari just going into the backline, 1v1ing and putting Hjärnan down, shutting out the only threat that could stop them from G2's side.
All eyes were on G2 coming into this series. They were the favorites by many. They looked good in the second half of the split, especially when you compared it to the 2-7 Misfits. But that 2-0 we were talking about earlier, gents, I may have misspoken, or maybe it was prophecy, as they now lead this best-of-5 series against G2 Esports. They want to make it to the semi-final. They want to go up against Fnatic. And G2, now, their backs are against the wall.
And we always praise the support staff on the side of Misfits and the Misfits team as well as being able to turn around when they're given the time to prep, when they're allowed to focus on a single opponent. They've always been good in best of series, and that has not changed. Not losing when they were getting destroyed in the early game with those CS deficits, they just did not matter. Misfits were managed to bring it back.
Yeah, that's the most impressive thing because Misfits have not been a team that have been able to lose early game and then recover and then pull away with a victory. We saw two very different games from them and two very impressive wins.
And when we look back at that last team fight, we can see who really stepped up and how Misfits kind of came together as a team.
It's Alphari, man. This guy has been a monster so far throughout this series. Just look at how he zones away the backline, and really it was this crucial pick onto PerkZ as well. We talk a lot about Alphari, but Maxlore has landed some clutch ultimates in this final, or throughout this series, to be honest, and he really was a big part of setting up for the rest of Misfits to help secure it.
And then just look at Hansama, like, is that even fair? Dives underneath the Nexus towers against 3 members. He had that double tier spike on this Ezreal, and without any of the damage threats up from G2, that game was all Misfits all the way.
Such a close back and forth game, but it was credit to Hansama there for his damage output, but also to Hjärnan. He did his best, but what are you going to do against a giant dinosaur monster thingy that just has his whole game plan is just to eat you?
Look, man, I'm with you on the giant monster, but also 52.2k damage, also 51.9% of his team's damage. Hansama, more than half the team in terms of DPS in this game.
Yeah, it's funny too, because we saw the draft of Braum Ezreal right off the bat. We're like, ooh, is this going to be a carry Ezreal, or is this going to be more supportive? Well, the damage charts at the end of the game don't lie. That was the Hansama show when it came to carrying the team.
And I was honestly concerned about Misfits' draft, but they were able to prove me wrong, and they found themselves their second win of this best of 5.
They definitely did. Well, last year, Misfits pulled off a great upset against Fnatic at the semifinals. At Worlds, they took the reigning champions SK Telecom T1 to 5 games, and tonight, they're just 1 win away from beating G2. Now, after the break, we look back at Misfits' previous success as they gear up for match point. Don't go anywhere.
Also note that Sencux is level 10 now. Jankos hanging around the bottom.
Whoa! Ulti thrown out. They're trying to burst him down before anything else can happen, and they take him out. Mikyx doesn't even get the chance to block the damage. Maxlore wants to fire back. They get 1!
We say this a lot.
Flash silence, that might be all it takes. Sencux now on the way. PerkZ just gonna go right on down. Well played from Alphari. Hansam and Mikyx are both incredibly low. The damage is now starting to come out, but Hjärnan remains untouched. He is gonna be able to take down one member. The shutdown comes through. The ulti does not quite manage to do what they needed to do, but PerkZ is running forward. They want a little bit more. The flash, no hesitation. He's knocked back in the middle of the lineup. What else can they get? Less available, but Hansam with the flash forward from Hjärnan. One more kill, taking him down the realm warp. Gonna bring him back. Maxlore wants to interrupt, but it's too little, too late. The shutdown from G2. Alphari already burning the ult. PerkZ caught up onto the side. They're trying to do something, but he's got him. Misfits. This is just too easy now. PerkZ is gone. Hjärnan's gone. And now they're gonna close out game 2 in style.
Misfits. Oh my god, it's insane. We're in sync. They're in sync. They take down the Nexus once more.